So right everyone, welcome to the Captain's Table of the Premier League Cricket Club, and today we've got another captain from down south. It is the skipper of the Surrey Championship champions, Mr. Steve Reeves at Wimbledon. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you doing?
All good, all good. Hey, let's get straight to it. The season's over. Most important question. How are you feeling now it's all done? Relief, pride, or just knackered?
I think all of the above, to be honest. Obviously, pride in what we did as not only as a first team, but as a club.
Yeah.
Being able to field six teams week in and week out. First winning the league, seconds winning the league, thirds being promoted, fourths, fifths, and sixes staying in the leagues where they,
Yeah.
most of their fixtures are against other first teams. I think, pride's probably the biggest one of, what the whole club has done and how we've all bought into kind of one goal. Obviously, relief being my first year on the job. You never want to mess it up and, be in that relegation battle. So yeah, a bit of relief there. And yeah, just kind of the turbulent times that comes with the league and it being so strong. That's where the tiredness falls in, but the pride and the relief kind of carries you through that.
Absolutely. Just give me one word that you'd use to sum up the season.
Turbulent,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It was a bit up and down at times, wasn't it? Sort of, Reigate pushed you right until the end.
They did.
And it made life interesting. And it was pretty close with Banstead and was it East Moseley as well around the corner?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I
it was
think
tight.
exactly, and I think that all goes to show kind of how strong the league is, and it just keeps on going from strength to strength. You've got Sutton in the mix, Banstead, Ashstead. Spencer now, who was their first time in the league for a while, and they created a few upsets as well. And whenever we slipped up, luckily the teams that were low down the table did the same to the teams that were around us. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what kept us in the loop all the time. And I don't think you'll see a closer league season. I mean, I think Molesey's run away with it a few times now. Reigate might have as well. So, but yeah, just, happy that we could, put it over the last day of the season.
It was certainly up there around the 33 Premier Leagues in one of the top three closest in the country. There's a bit of a disparity between the top and the bottom, but when it came to that top 4 or 5, I mean, it literally went down to the wire. And is that where the pride comes in when it comes to describing the season overall? Because it did go down to the wire, but you were there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, how we came back from disappointments and defeats really, is what makes me most proud. Losing close games where, we lost to Reigate on the last ball, number 9 came in and smashed the 6.
I remember.
And then, and also coming back again, I think Ashstead beat us, and then coming back to win 2 on the road to win the league was good. So it was all about kind of bouncing back and getting up and keep going, and kind of rallying around each other, and how the club rallied around us as well, not just the players, but the staff and the supporters as well. We had great support. Call them the old boys, but they were there day in, day out.
Absolutely.
Rain or shine, they were always there.
Yeah. What was the standout sort of result or weekend for you, apart from that last game of the season? Was there something in a weekend or a game where you go, that's the one?
I think so. The one that I kind of, where I thought, okay, we're in with a chance now, is where we beat Sutton in the Red Bull. Josh Blake was going really well, and luckily we were able to find a gap on the other end. So we were able to get through them, where they had actually, I think they'd won 3 in a row in the Red Bull before that. But then also a kind of a standout, not because of where it was in the season, but more the fact of who they are, is beating Molesey home and away. That was, fantastic feeling, which I don't think many have done. They're a fantastic club and get it really right there. So that was really good. But then to caveat that after the Red Bull game, they came and absolutely annihilated us in the T20 final on the Sunday. Played some unbelievable cricket, and there was no stopping them. So it was stand up, but fair play to them. They always, again, also tend to stand up in the big moments, and they've got some really good players and good youngsters as well coming through.
Yeah, most definitely. And having been T20 national champions just a couple of years ago, losing that one for you, it's a big tournament, that, for Wimbledon, isn't it?
It is, and it's always on the planning at the beginning of the season or in the pre-season of, wanting to regain that. And, everybody speaks of that time with, fond memories and wanting to do it again, the guys that haven't done it. So, and, you always get the Nick Welch and Ari Cavellas coming back in saying, how you boys doing? Are you going to, get through it this year? We did it the last time we were here. So, there's a little bit of pressure, but that's, nice privilege to have, that the club's been there before, and something that we strive to get to again.
Most definitely. What about the one that got away? Is there a game? I'm guessing it might be the Reigate one, but is there a game where you go, that bloody annoys me? That one really shouldn't have gone the way it did.
Yeah, look, the Reigate one does annoy me because you look back and you always think I could have, done something different. But I think George Elam played that game extremely well with Fraser Sheet. Those two, how they played the situations showed their class, and how they kind of carried it to the end. And although they weren't there at the end, they kind of broke the camel's back. I think potentially the one that got away was against local rivals Spencer, where we had bowled quite nicely, probably gave them 20 or 30 too many at their place. But then I think we lost something like 7 wickets for 40 runs. So that, and I think if you look at them, maybe out of the 10 wickets, 2 of them were unplayable. The rest was our forced errors. So that might be one where, you think kind of, we could have done that better. But then again, they played some really good cricket. They stepped up to the mark when it came into the Premier League. So they just, as a team coming up to play the way they did, also, raised the bar, and, we all had to deal with that. And I think they beat Reigate at home as well. So that, they had a good run as well. So not in terms of they were bad teams, but just kind of where we thought, well, we should have actually taken control more than we actually did.
Yeah, most definitely. They did what they needed to stay in the league next year, and they can build on that, basically, can't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. From a captain's perspective, then, what did you learn from 2025 that you want to take forward into 26?
I think communication is a big thing, especially nowadays, and especially when, with the pool of London coming in, you've got people from, many different backgrounds, different areas that they've grown up in, sometimes different countries like we've got. Different people react to different things in different ways. And we tried to, as a club and as kind of like a committee, do it this season, where effectively try and create an open door policy where guys can come and talk about anything, their frustrations, problems, anything like that. Not that they don't get listened to, but, we still will take the club's best interest at heart. But I think moving into 2026, just build on that, and, make everybody feel like, they are the biggest thing in the club, because, we saw the guys in the 6th team to the 1st team, they're all playing a part in what we're trying to do as a club. So I think it's more in terms of, creating that one club mentality going forward. We started it this year, the year before, and just kind of growing that to create a kind of sustainable environment for guys to enjoy.
Absolutely. And you might be one of the biggest clubs around, and it might be that Wimbledon are, the top dogs when it comes to the Premier League. But without that coming up from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there's no club, is there?
No, exactly. You see teams where they've got a first team and then that's it. It's not very often they stay in leagues for long. Especially when for instance, in Surrey or in the Middlesex League, where you've got such a big sphere of influence and pool of players that you can choose from. So, I think, again, going back to the clubs that we've got in our league, East Molesey do it really well. They've got a fantastic junior setup, which we do as well. We've got a hell of a lot of kids, some good prospects as well. So it's planning on how to get those guys coming through and integrating them the right way into kind of adult cricket, which I think we've got okay at the moment, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, most definitely. Looking at the squad that you used during the season, you used a reasonable amount of players, but not a massive amount because you had quite a lot of consistency. Yes. Who in your first 11 in particular surprised you this year and you thought, didn't quite see all of that coming from him?
I think, so there was Billy Sewell, who's obviously been a junior at Wimbledon. I think he started at the club when he was 6.
Yeah.
So Wimbledon is, in his blood. He had 1 or 2 games off through injury, but he stepped up in moments, with bat and ball, and showed a bit of maturity. Yes, I think he's only 23 or 24. So, there were stages where you can't blame the guy for having, thoughts that go through his head that, mature guys wouldn't. So he was a good one. Tim Lloyd, obviously youngster still at university, really stepped up again this year. And then probably our seamers. So Ollie Pike, the game against East Mols and the game against Sutton, I couldn't get the ball out of his hands. It got to a point where he had bowled 18 in a row, and I looked over at him, and there was, when there's nothing behind somebody's eyes, and they're just kind of in kind of like an autopilot.
They've gone beyond being in the zone, then, haven't they?
Exactly, yeah. So the way him and Matt Benning bowled together in a partnership was unbelievable, and then backed up by obviously our director of cricket, John Speller, and Ben Twine, who for some of the season was out injured, and then towards the end was actually bowling at only 70% because that's what allowed him. If he went any further than that, he couldn't walk. So so to be able to only be at 70% and still perform and do what he did was fantastic as well. So
absolutely,
yeah. I suppose those are the more senior guys in terms of the bowlers. Billy and Tim stepping up as youngsters coming through. But I think at certain times there were guys. Everybody put their hand up. Adam Fox, not in batting but in the field. Kind of showed a bit of guts and gumption.
Yeah.
You had, our second team captain, Brandon Tatum, taking 2 game-changing catches that I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams would have expected to get to. So, just little things, that everybody kind of stepped up and did kind of made the difference.
Absolutely. And what about the opponents? Let's talk about opponents around the Surrey League. Who did you find, either individually or as a team in particular, the toughest to play against?
I think, as the table says, I think East Molesey and Reigate are always up there. They're always, you give them an inch and they take a mile.
Yeah.
They've got fantastic players, fantastic experience. They led well. But I think the guys that stood out to me was Ashstead. So they've, and yes, they've got, and the guys that stood out are contracted players.
Yeah.
But I think it was in our second game, rain was coming, and it took kind of a steady head and understanding of the game, where Adam Thomas played against us, and his knock was, brilliant, and he kind of just took the lead and didn't play like he was 19 or 20. He played like he had been batting with Mark Stoneman for years.
Yeah.
So, and they alone caused a few what people would call upsets, but actually, they're competing where they should be.
Absolutely.
They're overseas pro. I think he's the only one to score 200 in the league this season, and I think he's contracted as a bowling all-rounder. So, it shows what they have an ability to do. And again, I think they've got a fantastic junior setup there. So it just shows kind of what's coming through.
Without a shadow, some of the pros that were around the Surrey Championship this year were just, it was Hughie began.
Yes.
He was at Sunbury. Obviously, KS Barak came in at Dulwich, but didn't really, after his first game, he didn't really do that much. You got people like Tigualet, Isha. The strength of the pros just seems to take another level this year, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, they were all world class. literally world class. I mean, Hugh at Sunbury was fantastic. They were unfortunate to go down. Also, lovely club, good bunch of boys. A few guys who have kind of moved through from team to team over the last few seasons. But they're kind of core players that have been there for a while, did a real good job. Unfortunately, didn't sit, where they wanted to be at the end. Isha, Teague, I think he took over the captaincy this year and wasn't just that young overseas pro that was, scoring runs, but actually made his mark at the club as well and on the league, especially. Yeah, I think the only disappointment really was with Dulwich. I think, they're nice bunch of guys, all their hearts are all in the right place. Their captain did what he could do. My experience on the field was, the management of the overseas was quite tough. From what I felt when we played them, as a wicketkeeper, one, but then as a overseas number two should be the one pulling the boys through when it's 100%. A hard time. Yeah. If you're wicketkeeper, you're the first one in position, you're the first one moving. But it was the opposite. So I think that was kind of a bit of an uphill battle for them. But their captain, he did the best that he could do. And there was a point, it was actually after the game where he was being probably, I think they were going to get docked quite a few points for slow over rate. And we had to step in and just say, look, this, you can't be too harsh. And then the guys, everybody was trying as hard as they can. It was just kind of up to one or two individuals who should have been there and should have been moving it forward. So, but other than that, I mean, everybody was fantastic.
Most definitely.
And and a really good season all around, good competitiveness, no real uglies. I think obviously our seam bowlers get a bit heated when it's not going their way. So that probably will be a learning for us for next year. But
as a skipper, you say good to that. Hey, looking at young players in the league, just give us a name of a young player. You can't say Tim Lloyd because we know all about him, and we've been talking about him for 2 years now.
Yes.
Somebody, a young player from around the league, where you go, that's one to look out for.
So there's, I think his first name's Harry. So Harry Porter from Molesey. Obviously, he did well last year with the ball. Done the same again this year. Fantastic. And then they had a left armer that debuted, I think, this year that was fantastic as well, youngster. Also, I think he played their under 21s as well. So real young, really good quality, good head on him. And then Sunbury as well. They had, I don't know the guys' names, but they also had a left-hander who debuted against us. And I think he took a 5 or 6 for and didn't miss the mark at all. So that, they were really, really good players and, ones to look out for moving forward, I think. And then, as I said, kind of, although he's already emerged, Adam Thomas, I think, is probably one to look for as well. Coming through, what opportunity he'll get with such a strong Surrey side, I don't know, but I have no doubt he'll be bashing the door down.
Absolutely.
Looking for that opportunity.
And let's look forward to 2026 then quickly. If you could take one thing from 25 into 26 as a whole, what would it be?
I think the way we gelled as a team and then as a squad and then moving on to as a club, I think that really helped us when we were down, get back up, and when we were up, continue to go on that run. We've always struggled because we have the championships at Wimbledon. We away from home for I think 3 weeks in a row during the season. We can't go anywhere near the club, anything like that, for obvious reasons. And we struggled in the past to actually play during those few weeks. And this year we managed to get through those really well. And I think we had one of the best red ball seasons yet. So, and I think that was all down to the boys kind of, sticking together and coming together as a group and as a club and just kind of helping each other through, even if it's not talking about cricket at all, but, just, feeling like we're all still together, because sometimes you can feel so distant because you don't effectively have a home that, it's tough to get onto the field. And then when your opponents are as strong and as competitive as they have been, it makes it even harder.
Yeah, I like that one because people talk about. We all know that Wimbledon make vast amounts of money from the Wimbledon Championships and what goes on,
Yes.
but the fact that you lose that 3 weeks where
Mm.
not one player is allowed, you're basically like the Harlem Globetrotters of Surrey for 3 weeks. You're all over the
Yeah,
place, aren't you?
exactly. So we've got to, the club's been really good as well, renovating and getting the
Yeah,
facilities at Rains Park up and going. So, yeah, I think everybody does the best they can. There's obviously that feeling, though, that you get when you can walk into your dressing room and train on the field that you're
yeah.
playing and,
It's not normal to
seeing
be
each
away
other.
for 3 weeks, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Not the
yeah,
slightest.
yeah, yeah, that's probably the thing that we will continue to and look, credit to the club and to the staff behind the scenes who have worked to get it
Yeah,
to where it is.
most definitely. What could you improve either as a team or even as a captain yourself? Is the one thing you can look at and go, that's what we need to improve on next year?
So I think in terms of captaincy, it would be um, believing in what kind of comes to my mind and what's in my gut. I
Hmm.
think, there were a few times this season where I bounced ideas off a few other people because I had the gut feel, but it was a
Yeah,
bit a bit rogue to say the least of
yeah.
what I was thinking. Um, but then in the end, we kind of all came to the same consensus and went through with it anyway.
Hmm.
So it would probably be that. And then, as I said again, just continuing on that communication piece of, making sure that everybody is aligned and if not that we've had the conversation and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
um, as a team, I would probably say making sure we don't get caught up in the noise. A lot of it does come with playing for Wimbledon, and we get a lot of stick for playing for a posh club or whatever. But making sure we
You're
don't.
just a cricket club.
Exactly, but you're just not getting caught up in that and making sure we know what we do well and sticking to our own guns. And kind of that was kind of the nature of what we try to do through the season.
Yeah.
Make it simple and focus on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just backing ourselves of what we do best and not
La-
getting
l-
caught up in anything else.
Last couple, but looking forward.
Yes,
How do you keep the group motivated during the winter? I saw that you're back at training.
we are back
So
at training. Yeah, so.
Ali has got you working again. So you're all on the
Uh,
way.
Yeah, exactly. So Ali's got us going. So that helps a lot. We've got team squash or club squash on a Tuesday night, I think, as well. So we try and do things where we kind of stick together.
Nice.
So it's not just cricket club. We're all mates as well.
Hmm.
It does help that we're all kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
Whereas a few clubs have guys that come from everywhere, so it makes it a bit
Hmm.
harder. But yeah, just that, and I think the vibe and the infrastructure we're trying to create at the club makes it a lot
100%.
easier for us to get guys down and stay together. So, and then also again, fantastic work by Billy Saw, who's part of the socials and all that kind of thing. So he does a lot of work on keeping the boys together and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Go on then. Gut feeling. Final question. Gut feeling for 2026. Optimism. Unfinished business. Obviously you want to retain the championship. That's your first goal.
Yeah.
What would be the next one for you guys?
So I think, yeah, so very optimistic. I think there's also unfinished business around all the other competitions that we didn't get through to. So the T20 look would look to have a good run in the national as well. We bundled out pretty early this year, which is a bit disappointing. So I think, that's a bit of unfinished business. I think optimism of protecting the league that, worked so hard to get.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know it's just going to level up next year. Guildford coming up, Normandy coming up, good sides, good players,
Hmm.
and then the rest that are in the league. It's going to be a tough one. As I said before, I don't know if it's going to be as close as it was this year.
Hmm.
But there's going to be, every single game, there's going to be no walkovers and no kind of, easy wins. So optimism, but we've got to really, really work hard to get what we want.
Absolutely. Hey, that's great stuff, Steve. Thanks very much for joining us and taking your seat
Brilliant.
at the captain's table, and look forward to seeing how you go 2026.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me.